Yes, well, hello there. Do hope you're all well, and I do hope you all had a wonderful weekend. Do you recognise this woman? Yes, it's June Mummery, who in 2016 voted to leave the European Union because she thought it would allow the United Kingdom to have far greater control of fishing in its waters despite having to relinquish fishing rights in foreign waters and therefore provide an economic benefit. Yes, June Mummery is what you would class in the loosest terms a British politician and businesswoman. She was elected as a Brexit Party member of the European Parliament for the East of England constituency in the 2019 European Parliamentary election, a role she held until the United Kingdom withdrew from the EU. Mummery is also the managing director of BFP Eastern Limited Fish Market Auctioneers, who operate in Lowestoft. Now, when it came to June Mummery, I didn't really know anything about her until not long after we had left the European Union. Let's just say, I heard her doing an interview where she's talking about saying she has no fish. And I thought, when you hear a voice, you think, that voice sounds incredibly familiar. Where have I heard that voice before? I've heard that voice somewhere before. It's very familiar. Then it dawned on me in 2018, she rung up James O'Brien to make an absolute complete Charlie of herself, where she ended up saying she saw unicorns flying over her window and they gave her a wink and all that nonsense. Well, on Friday she decided to have another conversation with James O'Brien, and let's just say, didn't go too well, did it? Enjoy!
Now, a few of you have referenced a call that I had actually forgotten about from 2018 from a lovely woman who worked on the sort of fishing front in Lowestoft and rang in 2018 when fish were really in their pomp as one of the great big Brexit wins that was on everybody's horizon, and went on subsequently, I think, to join Nigel's little party. So here's a little reminder.
Have a thriving industry, and we've given it away.
I know that line, and I respect it, and I sympathise with it. But the question I asked you was, why does it matter who buys the fish as long as you can sell it?
Well, that's again. I'm not going to get into this, that, and the other.
Well, this is why things get so frustrating.
We want to catch our own fish, and we want to sell it to other people and other places further afield.
For example,
well, Korea. We send whelks there now. I've got a whelk boat welking out of Lowestoft at the moment. All those whelks are going to Korea. Great.
So we can already sell. So we're already selling whelks to Korea then.
Yes.
So why would it be a good idea to reduce our trading arrangements with our biggest customer on the planet?
We never said we wouldn't. I'll still.
But we have to. If we don't, we're pulling out of the free trade agreement. That's what we're doing. We're having to negotiate a new one.
What I'm saying is, if Mr. Johnny Foreigner in Europe don't want it, we'll send it elsewhere.
But they do want it.
On these people.
They do want it. They buy £921 million worth of it every year.
Well, then they take most of it out of our waters. All we want.
No, this is British fish. I can't do this, June. I respect you and I like you, and I'll come.
You're now looking at figures and getting heavy with me.
Yeah, I am. I'm looking at facts, and you're giving me feelings. Yeah, this is Brexit. This is the debate. You and I are never going to agree with each other. I sympathise with your position. You hate the fact that I'm giving you facts and figures, and I hate the fact.
I don't hate anything.
Well, you all right? Hate's the wrong word. You don't want me. You don't want me to give you all the facts and figures.
I've got facts and figures as well. Then we will start arguing, and we said we weren't going to do that, didn't we?
Well, I think it's a bit late. That ship has sailed. So £921 million currently goes to the EU.
6.4 billion will come back into this country if you.
But my number has happened, June.
It will happen. Have faith in your country, Mr. O'Brien.
I do. Indeed, I do. Let's find out whether June Mummery still does. How do you feel listening back to that, June? Welcome, by the way.
Hi, James. Yeah, quite funny, really. I'll calm down a lot. Yeah, I sell fish for a living, and that's what I do. Yeah, I listen to it, and we have been sold out by our Prime Minister, and I am deeply upset.
That was me talking then, and I think you probably realise I'm not a big fan of Boris Johnson's. I told you.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he sold us out.
No, but
Boris has sold us out.
No, I told you what was going to happen in that call from exactly 3 years ago, almost to the day.
No, James, you didn't tell us what happened. I'm delighted we've left the EU. I'm delighted with that. It's the deal, James. It's the deal that our government got. for the fishing industry. And the gentleman you just had on, I couldn't really hear. I got cut off with him a couple of times.
Don't worry about him. I'm just.
But hang on, that's a big deal. What I'm going to say about him.
All right.
He owns the Kokela is a Dutch vessel.
Yes, he had nothing to. He had nothing to do with the Kokela.
But the Kokela is a flagship.
Yes.
It is a British registered, but owned by the Dutch.
Yes, but the fellow who was just on was just a member of the public from Norway, June.
Well, yeah, he's probably working he's working in Norway, and he's talking about that side of things. It's because that doesn't interfere with his life here. Brexit and taking back full control, James, was about rebuilding an industry.
So why are none of the ships in Hull, why are none of the trawlers in Hull allowed into Norwegian waters then at the moment?
Because of the deal that our government got.
So
what
when you listen
back... If we'd have taken back...
yes.
Listen, James...
I'm hanging on your every syllable. Yes.
Yeah, I've got to go in a meeting in a minute, so I'm rushing it through. Sorry.
Oh, what a shame.
I'm so sorry. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, but... what I'm trying to say is, if we'd have taken back full control of our waters and the resource, we would be in a completely different position now.
Yes, but you heard me 3 years ago explaining to you why that was impossible. So, who's been proved right? It wasn't
impossible at all.
Of course it was.
Impossible.
Well,
no, it was not.
Because the quotas were always going to be linked to the trade agreement. There's a quid pro quo. So, in return for fishing
No, James, we're taking it back. Quotas, isn't owned by anybody. Right. It's people have the entitlement to use it. It's no different to the milk quota. Our government can take that back when they want.
Right.
What I'm saying is, it's the deal that Boris got. Our government was unprepared. I said it all along.
You didn't.
No, well,
let's play the tape again. Let's play the tape again, June. Because my listeners are.
Go back to the tape.
No, let's listen to you saying that it was going to be a really bad deal all along. Then go on.
We used to have a thriving industry, and we've given it away.
I know that line, and I respect it, and I sympathise with it. But the question I asked you was, why does it matter who buys the fish as long as you can sell it?
Well, that's again. I'm not going to get into this, that, and the other.
Well, this is why things get so frustrating.
We want to catch our own fish, and we want to sell it to other people and other places further afield.
For example,
well, Korea. We send whelks there now. I've got a whelk boat welcoming out of Lowestoft at the moment. All those whelks are going to Korea. Great.
So we can already sell. So we're already selling whelks to Korea then.
Yes.
So why would it be a good idea to reduce our trading arrangements with our biggest customer on the planet?
We never said we wouldn't. I'll still.
But we have to. If we don't, we're pulling out of the free trade agreement. That's what we're doing. We're having to negotiate a new one.
What I'm saying is, if Mr. Johnny Foreigner in Europe don't want it, we'll send it elsewhere.
But they do want it.
On these people.
They do want it. They buy £921 million worth of it every year.
Well, then they take most of it out of our waters. All we want.
No, this is British fish. I can't do this, June. I respect you and I like you, and I'll come.
You're now looking at figures and getting heavy with me.
Yeah, I am. I'm looking at facts, and you're giving me feelings. Yeah, this is Brexit. This is the debate. You and I are never going to agree with each other. I sympathise with your position. You hate the fact that I'm giving you facts and figures, and I hate the fact.
I don't hate anything.
But you all right? Hate's the wrong word. You don't want me. You don't want me to give you all the facts and figures.
I've got facts and figures as well. Then we will start arguing, and we said we weren't going to do that, didn't we?
Well, I think it's a bit late. That ship has sailed. So £921 million currently goes to the EU.
6.4 billion will come back into this country if you.
But my number has happened, June.
It will happen. Have faith in your country, Mr. O'Brien.
I do. So, June, when's the bit when you told, for example, because you ended up, I think, as an MEP with the Brexit Party, when was the bit when you told voters that you knew the deal was going to be rubbish? And was that before or after Farage decided to stand down candidates in friendly constituencies?
Jones, I'm not going to go on. You've got a thing about Nigel, haven't you? You really have got.
Only one of us has got him in the Twitter banner on our Twitter pages.
Yeah, you've repeated that piece from me going back years ago.
Yes.
Why can't you now?
Let's not talk about me. I didn't make any promises to voters.
No, but you.
When did you tell them?
Then?
When did you tell them that it was going to be a really bad deal? When did you tell them? Because you just told my listeners that.
But Nick, can I get a word? Listen,
I
didn't realise. Right, please, may I just say something? I thought our Prime Minister, our government, was going to take back. We were promised that they would take back full control of our waters and the resource. If they had done that, James, we would be in a very different position.
But I explained to you in 2018 why that was impossible.
Oh, James, please let me just finish.
Well,
Right,
okay, but
so
you're
if
not
we'd have
making any sense,
All right,
June.
well, oh, no, because you won't let me get this across.
All right, so if
So we
only
would've
we
taken-
just believed more.
Well, what do you want to talk about? The fact that what we should have been, if we had taken back control, what part of this conversation can I get over? If we'd have taken back full control of our resource and the fish, we would be in a completely different position.
And who would we be
Because
selling
we
it
would
to?
we'd be, but, well, the biggest problem we have in our country, James, is that we should be selling it to our in our supermarkets instead of all the farmed fish that they sell. You know, bass from Vietnam. You know, prawns from dikes in Thailand.
Yes.
You know, that's something the government had.
And was
5 years
Brexit ever
to
going to
do.
make any of that better?
I mean, Norway sell their fish to 149 different countries. James, selling
So
fish
why-
is not a problem.
Where will we sell ours
The
then?
problem is, pardon?
Where will we
Well,
sell
we put
ours?
it in- We'll sell it to France. We'll sell it to Holland. They'll
You know-
need it. They've got big.
You know what the problem
James,
is
let me
there?
finish.
No, June.
Please
No, I will let
me
you finish, but you can't sell it if you're not allowed to
James,
catch it.
Well, we're talking about the deal. If I'm going back to what should have happened, what we were promised. This is a big deal. You know, at the moment, Boris has lied about wallpapers and this different things, but he lied to us.
June, you made the promises
Total
to the
commitment.
British people.
No, I didn't make.
Yes, you
what
did.
I
You stood
promise?
for office
What
in
did I
Nigel's
promise?
party.
What did we promise?
You promised
What
that we'd
did we
take back
promise at the
control.
party?
People said that's impossible. You said no, it isn't, and here we are.
Well, it isn't. It was not impossible.
It was.
But our government are weak and spineless and did not take back full control. If we'd have taken back and had the fish, we'd have sold it to France and Holland. They've
You
got
can't
huge
do that without a
factories.
trade
People-
agreement.
So they've got huge factories, James, and employees to pay. Where would they have got the fish from? Us.
Well,
It's standard business sense, James. Don't try and make it look. Don't try and twist it. That
I'm
is
not
how it is.
twisting
If we had
anything.
the
We
fish,
can't sell fish
they
that we're
would
not
need
allowed
it.
to catch.
We're not allowed to catch. Well, listen. What I'm trying to say is, we're quite happy
Oh,
as a coastal. As an island of
All right.
catching our own fish in our waters and selling it.
Yes,
we're happy in
but
our
I
waters.
explained to you 3 years ago that the massive majority of the fish that we sold, we were catching in other waters because we don't like to eat the oily fish.
The reason we weren't
in
catching
this-
it in
oh.
our waters is because we weren't allowed to catch our fish.
And now we're
What
not
the
even
UK
allowed to fish in the waters that we were allowed to fish in before, which is the whole point of today's story from Hull, isn't it, June? The UK fisheries are lobbying. They're lobbying the government that you. Don't
we
shout.
wanted
June.
rid of that. We
Please
want
don't
rid
shout.
of the Keller.
Please
I'm
don't-
Not shouting.
please don't
Sorry,
shout.
I've got an earset in.
The government.
What
The
I'm-
government are being
The
lobbied
Key
to.
Keller is a flagship. It's a Dutch vessel. It's
Yes.
British registered and owned by the UK, James.
Yes,
Please.
which means that it
This
is
is about-
subject to UK rather than EU legislation. Let me just hear you making a little promise before the election. Let's just go back in time again, June, if you'll allow.
We are taking back full control of our waters and the resource. It's as simple as that.
See, that's a promise. Who broke it?
Our government broke it,
But
James.
you made it.
What do you mean I made a promise?
Well, I'll remind you again. Have
We
another
are
listen.
taking back full control of our waters and the resource. It's as simple as that.
What-
we wanted to do. And
What do you
that
say
is
to
what
people who voted
I
for
had
you?
meetings-
What do you say to people who voted for you? Are you going to say sorry?
Sorry, why I didn't do the deal?
Hang on, this is the promise you made.
We are taking back full control of our waters and the resource. It's as simple as that.
Wasn't simple, was it?
Simple.
Didn't happen,
Our
did it?
government made it difficult. It's the most simplest thing that you could do. I sat in an office in Lowestoft with Boris, and he promised me we would take back full control of our waters. That is what he told me.
And I
the
told you
resource.
that was
He
impossible
lied
in March of
to the
2018.
industry.
I told you that was impossible in March of 2018,
Well, no, you
and you
don't,
got
James,
and you got
listen,
cross. You got
this
cross
is
about the
about
facts and
Brexit with
figures,
you.
didn't you? So anyway, before you
Brexit
go,
is
I don't want to
one
keep you
thing.
from your meeting. On a scale of 1 to 10, how well is Brexit going for the fishing industry?
Fishing industry dreadful.
A scale of 1 to 10.
I don't know, really, James. I mean, I'm still working on it daily, but really,
Oh, I know,
I mean,
but at the moment, scale of 1 to 10.
8. Badly.
So,
Bad. It's bad for us at the
on,
moment.
with
I
10,
mean, these
with
people
10,
like you
with 10,
get to-
10 as the worst it could possibly be, it's currently an 8. You know, I have to put £10 in a tin for charity every time I say I told you so in the context of Brexit, June.
Well, yeah, but that's not quite right, is it? You've twisted
Keith,
that.
get the tin. June Mummery, I told you so. It's 10:49.
Now, I don't know about you. I don't know which phone call was worse, the one in 2018 or the one on Friday. Both absolutely pant-wettingly mental. And you witness in full view an absolute mental cultist. That phone call, I just don't know where to start. Right from the offset, it's just mental. And even when James is trying to give her all the evidence she needs to come to the realisation that what she was after is never going to materialise, all she goes on about, oh, you're giving me facts and this and that and the other, and you think, well, yeah, of course, because facts matter. And I remember she said this in 2018, and she said it in that phone call as well. She said, we need people like you, James, to fight for us. In other words, she just wants him to believe more. And he was quite right in what he said when he says, June Mummery, I told you so. And he did. He told her in 2018, what you're hoping for will never materialise, and you'll end up being the loser. And in the end up, that's what's really happened. But of course, it's everybody else's fault, not hers. And I just feel sorry for those people who fell for her rhetoric. But anyway, I'm not going to just leave it there. I think we need a bit of cheering up, because on the same day, he had a really, really insightful and really interesting conversation with Rod Mackenzie, the Managing Director of Policy and Public Affairs at the Road Haulage Association. A highly skilled and experienced former BBC senior executive now running policy and public affairs for the Road Haulage Association, representing hauliers operating 100k off the UK's HGVs in every sector of Britain's transport and logistics sector. Previously Director of Marketing and Communications at the Road Haulage Association, formerly an award-winning multimedia journalist, presenter and editor, including BBC Radio 1's Newsbeat, a successful and committed team leader with experience of change management and control of multi-million-pound budgets, highly experienced in public relations management at senior level, wide experience of people mentoring and coaching. And I found his interview with James O'Brien not only very interesting, but also very rational and very insightful. So I thought I'll just give you this bonus interview, which was very, very good for you, because I enjoyed it.
Of helping, but with the time at 11:37, I can run you through some of the details that Rod will flesh out for us. Simply put, there are cabs that do not have drivers in them. And Rod Mackenzie, we'll try again. You can tell us why, and you can tell us what you want, but take it from the top if you would, Rod.
Well, I hope you can hear me.
There we go.
James,
there we go. That's it.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, well, historically, there has been a shortage of lorry drivers in this country. Not many Brits want to do the job. Variety of reasons for that, but we've relied a lot on European lorry drivers. And because of Brexit, many of them have decided to go home. And there's been a change to the self-employment tax laws recently, which has also meant that other lorry drivers and indeed more of the Europeans have gone home.
Right.
Or are stopping.
That's the IR35, isn't it?
It is indeed.
That's hit lots of us.
And that is causing a major problem, because what's happened is we've had localised strikes and work to rules and self-furloughing,
Right.
and that has meant that some of the delays, some of the shortages that we've talked about just get worse and worse. And the danger is that begins to impact on the supply chain. You know, we've got hospitality restarting in May. Other things will be happening,
Yes.
and more people want stuff delivered. And as you say, if the lorry drivers aren't there to do the job, we've got a massive problem. So, yeah, there are a few things we want the government to do, and they need to do it urgently. And I can run through those if it's helpful.
You can have all the time you want, Rod, actually. So don't feel... No, seriously, I mean, at least up until the next break at 11:45. So
Okay,
just tell my listeners what you think they most need to know about your sector's current problems and plight.
I'll do that. Thanks, James.
Okay.
Firstly, there is a massive backlog of driving tests. Now, driving tests for everyone, but the particular worry is for vocational drivers, lorry drivers. Yes. Literally thousands of tests have not been done because of COVID. And we are arguing that the government needs to put maximum priority on vocational drivers to clear that backlog. I know it'll be inconvenient for other learner drivers to have to wait a bit longer, but it's really important that wannabe lorry drivers get their tests and we can get them behind the wheels of lorries that deliver stuff to the rest of us. Urgent.
Right.
Secondly, we have got the RHA, for example, has its own Road to Logistics recruitment and training program, and there are others as well. Hundreds of would-be lorry drivers are desperate to work, but the tests mean they can't get those all-important HGV licenses. We've also got a problem with the occupation shortage list.
Yes.
Lorry drivers are not on that list, and we're insisting that the government puts lorry drivers on the list, as with occupations like doctors and nurses, for example.
Let me pause you there, if I may, because if lorry drivers were earning £36,700 a year and could prove that they had a position in place before coming here, they would be allowed to. So some people listening to the programme would suggest to you that, well, you know, you're just going to have to pay more. If you pay that sort of money, you will be able to get them, whether they're coming from the UK or from overseas.
Yeah, it's a fair point, and I understand that. But we're talking about a lot of small companies here, which have got 1, 2, 3 lorries and very, very tight profit margins, maybe 1%, 2%. Now, that's typical in road haulage. It's not typical in the rest of the world, but it is typical in this particular profession. And therefore, if you're asking a company with that sort of a very tight profit margin to increase wages that they can't afford to pay, then you're looking at them going out of business. So that would be sort of self-defeating. I think what we need to understand, and what the government needs to understand, it's not how much you're paid that determines your worth to the country. It's the job you do and whether there is an existing shortage of British people who are willing and able to do that.
Yes.
So that is the argument for why we think we should be on the occupation shortage list. It's something that Priti Patel didn't agree with, although we did have some support elsewhere in government. But it is essential that we allow EU and other foreign drivers to fill some of these gaps in the rota. We accept, by the way, that there's a massive driver shortage anyway in the EU. And that doesn't help. But what we're saying is EU and foreign drivers are needed. So that's another point. The other point that I think is worth making to your listeners is about the apprenticeship levy. We've paid about £500 million into the levy as a group of people that you might call road haulage or logistics. And we've got back just 50 million. Now, that's a very unfair payout for an industry with a critical staff and youth shortage. And we think we should be entitled to more of that to help start apprenticeships and driver training. And just on that, guess how much it takes to train a lorry driver? Well, I'll give you the answer because it's probably best if I do.
You're never going to get a second career as a quiz show host, Rod. I hope you realise that.
I passed on that a long time ago. It costs £7,000 to train a lorry driver, which is an awful lot of money for small firms who've just been describing to pay for. And therefore, apprenticeship levy funding for that training would make a heck of a difference. And a simple human point, we can't expect people to want to join the trucking industry if there are very few toilets, washing facilities, or safe and secure parking. And we've also got councils like, for example, in Kent, very hostile to lorry drivers and closing lay-bys and so forth. And one of the arguments is, they make a mess and, they leave litter and waste and so forth, which is obviously not good. But one of the reasons why people behave in that way is if there are no other facilities.
Yes.
People leave litter if there are no bins to put rubbish in. So I would always say, look at how many toilets are available. Look at the wash facilities. Because of COVID, we know how important this stuff is. Yes. And safe and secure parking can be terrifying. Sleeping overnight in a truck. if you got a gang of organised criminals trying to cut their way into your load in the back. It's not good.
It's a bleak
those are the
picture.
things that we really need, and it's time that if we value the things we receive in this country,
Yes.
and they're delivered on time and promptly despite a whole host of problems, it's really time that we valued the people who do that delivery.
It's a bleak picture that you paint, and if I've learned anything over the last few years, it's caveating what follows now with the phrase worst case scenario, or hopefully this won't happen, or hopefully only some bits of it will happen. And if it doesn't all happen immediately, then it's not in any way proof or evidence or emblematic of you not being honest or telling the truth. This is one of the many areas of public discourse that Brexit has completely broken. But what does the future look like if the government completely ignores you?
Well, what will happen is that the driver shortage will get worse. More and more drivers, as we're already seeing, will leave. And then we will start to see the effect of that, which is things that won't be delivered. And so when people notice that their cornflakes are not in the supermarket, or their online delivery doesn't arrive, or whatever it is, that's when, the rumbles will begin. And you're talking about your local convenience store, and we'll have to see. And whether that guy notices in the next few weeks that there are more and more glitches to what he's hoping to have to sell to you and me. That is the effect. And it's difficult to know, because I don't have a crystal ball, exactly what that would look like.
Exactly.
But that is the logic of what is happening. And the government can ignore us, as they have been doing continually up to now, or they can act. And the worry is that something really, really bad has to happen for the government to do something. And that's a shame. You don't need to be in that place. You can act now and head this off at the pass.
Just one thought, Rod, before you go. Have you thought of pretending to be a statue? Because then there are many members of the Cabinet who'd be galloping to your defence at the very first opportunity.
Well, it's probably a better career option for me than a game show host or a quizmaster.
Yes, Rob Mackenzie, Chief Executive of the Road Haulage Association there, just providing a fairly clear list of things that his sector needs in order to remember, because this is crucial, and I apologise for making this point repeatedly, but it is the most important point of all. That's what his sector needs in order to stay roughly where they were a couple of years ago. Not to improve. Well, actually, some of that would improve the situation on where they were a couple of years ago. But in terms of driver shortages, that's where we need to get back to where we were before the graph started dipping. The time now is 11:47.
Oh, when I said here's an interview with Rod Mackenzie to cheer us up, I think I misspoke. There was nothing in that interview to cheer us up. It all sounded pretty grim. But I suppose what I'm trying to say is that for every Brexit loon, like June Mummery, who's now trying to blame everybody, I think I read a tweet about 3 days ago where she's blaming Keir Starmer for not talking about Brexit, when last year he went nowhere near it because he knew full well if he did talk about it, people like June Mummery would be shouting at him from the rooftops for talking about it. I'm sorry, June. You cannot have it both ways. You cannot attack him for talking about the shit show that Brexit is, and then when it's happened and it's all gone to shit, you cannot attack him for not talking about it. But as I say, what I'm trying to say is, wherever there's an absolute Brexit loon like June Mummery, there's people like Rod Mackenzie still trying to limit the damage that's being done by these clowns. But anyway, I shall leave the video here. Until the next time, I shall bid you farewell. Take care.